Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh questions safety of nuclear weapons in the hands of a rogue nation, stresses IAEA should take over Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. In Jammu and Kashmir, 3 terrorists killed in an encounter in Pulwama's Tral. Search operations currently underway. Second encounter within 48 hours. India steps up efforts to designate TRF, a front of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, as a UN-listed terror outfit for its alleged involvement in carrying out the Pahalgam attack. Russia-Ukraine hold peace talks in Turkiye's Istanbul. Kremlin aid leads delegation. Zelensky says he would attend talks only if Putin present. Trump says he would attend if it is appropriate. And Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara calls lifting of US sanctions on Syria historic and courageous decision, urges investors from around the world to take an advantage of available opportunities in various sectors. Good afternoon to all the viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest that we are tracking for you at this hour, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today called out Pakistan on nuclear blackmail, raising questions if nuclear weapons were safe in the hands of a rogue nation like Pakistan. Addressing the soldiers at the Badami Bagh cantonment in Srinagar today, Rajnath Singh urged International Atomic Energy Agency to take supervision of the weapons. Take a listen.
आज श्रीनगर की धरती से मैं पूरी दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल उठाना चाहता हूं कि क्या ऐसे गैर जिम्मेदार और रोग नेशन के हाथों में परमाणु हथियार सुरक्षित हैं? मैं दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल खड़ा करना चाहता हूं। मैं मानता हूं कि पाकिस्तान के एटमी हथियारों को IAEA इंटरनेशनल एटॉमिक एनर्जी एजेंसी की निगरानी में लिया जाना चाहिए। मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा और साफ तौर पर कहना चाहूंगा।
In Srinagar, the minister reviewed operational preparedness and developments in the wake of Operation Sindoor, launched on the 7th of May. The Defence Minister also met and interacted with army soldiers and commended them for the success of Operation Sindoor. In his address, the Defence Minister underscored that Operation Sindoor is not just a name, but it represents a strong commitment. He also highlighted India's will to take decisive action and tough decisions when necessary to defend its interests.
Operation Sindoor सिर्फ एक ऑपरेशन का नाम भर नहीं है, बल्कि यह एक हमारी प्रतिबद्धता है, यह हमारा एक कमिटमेंट है। एक ऐसी प्रतिबद्धता जिसमें भारत ने दिखा दिया कि हम सिर्फ डिफेंस नहीं करते हैं, जब वक्त आता है तो हम कठोर निर्णय भी लेते हैं और कठोर कार्रवाई भी करते हैं।
Now, Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu Kinjarapu is also visiting Srinagar and Jammu today. He is expected to hold an interaction with security agencies and the stakeholders. Following this, he will visit Lal Chowk of Srinagar, review the facilities at Srinagar's airport and also visit Jammu airport to review security arrangements, and then he'll also hold discussions. Chief of Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi praised the Indian Army troops on Thursday for their exemplary performance during Operation Sindoor earlier this month. General Upendra Dwivedi visited the Dagger Division under Chinar Corps and interacted with soldiers stationed along the line of control, commending their courage and vigilance during high-intensity military operations. Addressing the troops, he lauded the role played by the troops in destruction of terror camps in Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Chief of Army Staff appreciated the role played by the Dagger Division in providing succor to the civilians subjected to dastardly trans-LOC shelling by Pakistan. Now, General Upendra Trivedi also emphasized the need for troops to remain ever prepared to respond to any such challenge with decisive force. And to get you more on this, I am joined by TD India correspondent Vishal Paristo. Good afternoon, Vishal. Now, Defence Minister is in Srinagar. What is the latest that we are tracking and how is the Josh there in Srinagar? Vishal.
Well, the Josh is absolutely high, Deepika. Other day, it was the Prime Minister from Adapur Air Base, and today it's the Defence Minister. And he categorically responded to the attack from Pakistan. I'm talking about the Pahalgam attack. Let's put it very straight. It was not a terror attack. It was a direct attack by Pakistan because the handlers of these terrorists are in Pakistan. That is why the Defence Minister said Pakistan is a rogue nation. The world is watching what Pakistan has been doing. The world has watched what India has done. Today, when the Defence Minister said that I'm here as your messenger and I'm carrying good wishes from across the country of 140 crore people. He was very much in an upbeat mood, praising the Indian Army, Indian Air Force and Indian Navy and also the paramilitary forces. But today when he was there with the Indian Army, the chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai, which means long live Mother India, long live the motherland, were echoed in the skies of Srinagar. The Defence Minister has also called for an international scrutiny of the Pakistan atomic energy and power, which it has been claiming that it can destroy anybody if it is attacked. But India has made it very clear that any act of terror from now onwards would be treated as an intrusion and attack on India, and India would respond. This time it would not be only on the terror outfits, not only on the terror camps, but it would be an attack, an all-out war against Pakistan. So you heard the Defence Minister, you heard the Chief of Army Staff, and the visit of the Defence Minister in the valley has sent a strong message across the border in Pakistan.
Also, Vishal, there is a 360-degree approach by the Indian government altogether. First of all, it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the key areas. Today, Defence Minister visiting Srinagar. And then we are also expecting the Civil Aviation Minister to visit the key areas to see the situation there. What sort of a message does this send across the borders when we talk about it and look at it and the entire progress it has made so far, Vishal?
Well, absolutely, Deepika, you have rightly said. In fact, the Civil Aviation Minister is already in Srinagar. He was there at the Lal Chowk and then he went to meet the airport authority. People asking about the security arrangements, because now, though the airlines have resumed their business, but the minister was also apprised as to what all security measures have been taken at the airport. Remember, Srinagar is also a military airport. So the Civil Aviation Minister here, the Defence Minister is here, Prime Minister visiting the Adampur Air Base. The message is very clear. The diplomatic efforts are on, the military efforts are on, and India will not spare Pakistan. India will not let it go, because the killings of 26 people have not been avenged. It is only a trailer, and the whole movie is yet to come, because India has responded in a very limited and precise manner. But yes, we have attacked Pakistan's terror camps because they attacked our civilians here. But next time, if there is any intrusion, then it would be an all-out war. This has been made very clear by the Prime Minister, repeated by the Defence Minister today.
All right. Thank you so much, Vishal, for joining us from Srinagar and bringing us the latest from there. Moving on, in another crackdown against terrorism in India's Jammu and Kashmir, 3 terrorists were killed in an encounter with security forces in another area of Pulwama's Tral. The encounter under Operation Nadar broke out this morning between security forces and terrorists in Tral after receiving specific input about suspicious movement. Following reports of terrorists being trapped in the area, security forces have cordoned off the area and search operations are currently underway. Well, this is the second encounter so far in 48 hours. Earlier on Tuesday, 3 terrorists of Lashkar-e-Taiba were killed in a gunfight with security forces in the forest area of Shukru Keller in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Shabir Dar from Srinagar. Good afternoon, Shabir. What is the latest that we are tracking on the encounter so far?
Yeah, good afternoon. This is a big success for the security forces in Jammu and Kashmir post Operation Sindoor and the Pahalgam, terror attack. As we have seen that, Jammu and Kashmir is on high alert and troops are making no efforts, left to ensure that Jammu and Kashmir is free from the terror and terror ecosystem. So, as you rightly said that in last 48 hours, this is the second encounter in Jammu, in Kashmir Valley, and today in Tral, where the security forces, army, CRPF, and police had a specific information about the presence of terrorists, and when they hold them up, the terrorists fired from their side, and which resulted in the encounter. So, as per the latest, updates in the encounter, 3 terrorists are being gunned down. The identity of the terrorists is yet to be ascertained because the area is being sanitized right now, and the operation is in this final, stage where the troops have got a huge success in neutralizing 3 terrorists. As we know that in just 2 days before, there was another huge encounter, the big success for the troops in Shipyan, where 3 elite terrorists were gunned down. So obviously a big anti-terrorism operation going on in Srinagar, in Jammu and Kashmir, which is giving a big success to our armed forces.
All right, thank you so much, Shabir, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the ongoing encounter. Meanwhile, in a humanitarian effort following recent cross-border aggression, the Romeo force of the Indian Army is going door-to-door in areas of Poonch district near the line of control. These regions were severely impacted by Pakistani shelling on the 9th of May that locals say damaged several homes. Army Jawans provided essential aids, including medicines and ration supplies, to the affected families. They also interacted with the residents, offering reassurance and assessing further needs. The initiative is a part of Army's ongoing outreach to support civilians living in forward areas under constant threat. Residents expressed relief and gratitude, praising the Army for their timely response and continued presence. With heightened tensions along the line of control, the Army remains on high alert while also ensuring humanitarian assistance that reaches the most vulnerable. Authorities are also assessing the full extent of damage caused by the recent shelling. Now, another big news that we are tracking at DD India News Hour currently, India has stepped up the effort to designate the Resistance Front or TRF, a front for the Lashkar-e-Taiba, as a UN-listed terror outfit for its alleged involvement in carrying out the Pahalgam attack. Now, an Indian technical team is currently in New York engaging with key United Nations bodies to push for the designation of the Resistance Front as a global terror group. The Indian officials on Thursday briefed the monitoring team of the UN Security Council's 1267 Sanctions Committee on the activities of the Resistance Front or the TRF. The TRF claimed the responsibility for the brutal 22nd of April attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam that killed 26 civilians who were mostly tourists. The Indian team also met with United Nations Under-Secretary General Vladimir Voronkov of the Office of Counter-terrorism and Assistant Secretary General Natalia Gurman of the Counter-terrorism Committee Executive Directorate to present evidence related to the group's involvement in the Pahalgam attack. USG Voronkov and ASG Harman expressed condolences for the recent terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir on the 22nd of April. The United Nations spokesperson, when asked about the meeting, said the discussions focused on ongoing collaborations with CTED and UNOCT within their respective mandates, particularly in support of implementing key Security Council counter-terrorism resolutions and the UN Global Counter-terrorism Strategy. The participants also discussed efforts to counter the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes in line with the 2022 Delhi Declaration adopted by the Counter-terrorism Committee under the chairmanship of India. Now, this includes the development of non-binding guiding principles prepared with CTED support on threats posed by unmanned aircraft systems and the use of emerging financial technologies for terrorist activities. Now, global experts continue to expose Pakistan's false narrative and propaganda following the successful execution of Operation Sindoor. Damian Simon, a globally recognized open-source intelligence analyst, used satellite imagery to dismantle propaganda from Pakistan and China. His finding exposed the damage inflicted on critical Pakistani air bases, including the destruction of Chinese-made radars, air defense systems and fighter jets housed in hangars following India's strikes countering Pakistan's claim. Yalda Hakim and her Sky News team investigated terror camps in Pakistan and uncovered their existence using social media posts linked to terror outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba. Their report exposed Pakistani officials' evasive responses and lack of proof to counter claims of supporting terrorism, spotlighting the murky situation in Muridke. And reporting for The Guardian, Hannah Peterson spoke with two Pakistani sources who shared their panic after India struck 3 air bases, one located near a nuclear facility. Their testimonies reflected the growing fear over a possible nuclear escalation that prompted urgent talks. Maxar Technologies, a US aerospace firm, also confirmed the losses of key Pakistani air assets guarded by Chinese radars and air defense. Moving on, the Indian Army successfully conducted a large-scale military drill known as Exercise Teesta Prahar at the Teesta Field Firing Range. The Army showcased joint combat synergy and readiness in challenging riverine terrain. The Indian Army validated modern weapons, tactical drills and swift operations, reflecting its commitment to excellence and modernization. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Up next, we'll get you latest from the ongoing Tiranga Yatra in Jammu and Kashmir's Srinagar. After the break, we'll get you latest update on the operation carried by Assam Rifles in Chandel district of Manipur. And Foreign Affairs Minister arrives in New Delhi for the inauguration ceremony of the Embassy of Honduras.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Now, in a significant nationwide outreach effort, the 11-day-long Tiranga Yatra began across the country on Tuesday. The Yatra honors the courage and sacrifice of India's armed forces, particularly in light of the recently concluded and successful Operation Sindoor. In Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar, a Tiranga Yatra was taken out at Sher-e-Kashmir Park that echoed the spirit of Hindustan Zindabad. DD India correspondent Vishal Peristo gets us the mood there. Take a listen.
With tricolors in their hands, head held high and chest out. This is Kashmir. They are protesting against the brutal killings of Pahalgam, and at the same time they are expressing their solidarity for the sentinels of India, for our brave soldiers. And there is Lal Chowk. They have gathered here. They started off from Sher-e-Kashmir Park and they have reached here. This is what the world should know. This is what the enemy across the border should know. This is India. We are fighting the communal elements. We are fighting the enemy across the border. and the message is very clear from the valley that India stands united. With cameraman Mohit Uike in Lal Chowk, Srinagar, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India. Jai Hind.
In Rajasthan's capital Jaipur, Chief Minister Bhajan Lal Sharma flagged off the Tiranga Yatra from Jaipur's Albert Hall. A massive crowd emerged to participate in the Yatra and to pay homage to the valor of the army.
भारत माता की हिंदुस्तान की भारत माता की हिंदुस्तान.
And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Lakshay Arya from Jaisalmer. Good afternoon, Lakshay. Now, not only the government which is coming across, but also the civilians who are supporting the Tiranga Yatra there and paying respect, paying tribute to those who lost their lives in this fight, in this Operation Sindoor. Tell us more about the Tiranga Yatra which is currently unfolding in Jaisalmer. Lakshay.
Well said, Deepika. Not only Jaisalmer but across the Rajasthan, the Tiranga Yatra is organizing, and it's not just a yatra, just not a movement, but it's an expression of patriotism. It's an expression of showing the gratitude for the armed forces and for the central government. And of course, when I talk to people across the Jaisalmer, across the border districts of Rajasthan, people were so happy that the PM Modi has initiated the Tiranga Yatra, and across the country the Tiranga Yatra is organizing, showing the gratitude towards the armed forces. If I talk about the Rajasthan, in the Jaipur, CM Bhajan Lal Sharma flagged off the Tiranga Yatra in the Albert Hall. So across the Rajasthan, in every district, the Tiranga Yatra is organizing by the civil societies. So civil societies are organizing the Tiranga Yatra across the districts, across the cities, and this is a movement for the armed forces, for the central government, to show the gratitude, how the Operation Sindoor worked very well, how the India is standing high, and a very hard message for the terrorism, for the terrorists, and for the state-funded terrorism. Secondly, what important right here, Deepika, is the Rajasthan has become first state to include the Operation Sindoor in its textbook. So, as the revision was made in the new session for the textbook, so Operation Sindoor, a chapter related to the Operation Sindoor has been added. The things are in the procedure, so soon in the next session, a chapter of the Operation Sindoor, every detail about Operation Sindoor, what is the significance of Operation Sindoor and how the armed forces bravely conducted the Operation Sindoor will be included in the textbook with the coming session in the Rajasthan. Parallelly, the civil societies are preparing well to organize Tiranga Yatra across the districts of Rajasthan. If I talk about especially in the border districts, as the border districts has experienced a tough tensions in the past week regarding to the India-Pak tensions. But when the Tiranga Yatra is organizing across the Rajasthan, across the country, the people are quite happy. People are showing the solidarity and of course the bravery of the armed forces. How importantly the armed forces play a important and vital role in the completion of the Operation Sindoor. Right here, not the youngsters, not the youth, also people of every age, citizens of every age are showing their well participation in the Tiranga Yatra across the border districts as well.
All right, thank you so much,
Yes,
Lakshay, for
Deepika.
joining us from Jaisalmer and bringing us the latest. Now, in Uttar Pradesh's Varanasi, various voluntary organizations along with locals participated in Tiranga Yatra to honor the bravery of the armed forces and celebrate Operation Sindoor. And in support of Operation Sindoor, a Tiranga Yatra was also organized in Raipur, stretching from Marine Drive to Jastamp Chowk. Carrying the national flag and chanting slogans like Bharat Mata Ki Jai, the participants from all walks of life paid tribute to the bravery and sacrifice of the Indian soldiers. A Tiranga Yatra was also organized in southern India's Chennai to celebrate the success of Operation Sindoor and to honor the courage and sacrifices of Indian armed forces in this operation. The rally started from Chennai, involving large number of people including college students and NCC cadets as well. Now, with the Tiranga Yatra, which will conclude on the 23rd of May, it is expected to help foster a deeper connection between citizens and the armed forces, reinforcing the Modi government's message of decisive leadership and national security. Meanwhile, in a historic success in the resolve of a Naxal-free India, the security forces have killed 31 notorious Naxalites in the biggest ever 21-day operation against Naxalism on the Karangatulu Hill at the Chhattisgarh-Telangana border. Now, Karangatulu Hill was the unified headquarters of big Naxal organizations like PLGA Battalion, DKSZC, TSC and CRC, where along with Naxal training, strategies and weapons were also developed. Notably, there was not a single casualty in the security forces in the biggest anti-Naxal operation. Home Minister Amit Shah has congratulated CRPF, STF and DRG soldiers who faced the Naxalites with their bravery and courage even in bad weather conditions and inaccessible mountainous areas. He said that the whole country is proud of them. Well, India aims to be Naxal-free by the 31st of March 2026. There you can see the visuals from the area, ensuring the Naxal-free Bharat, as the hashtag also goes, hashtag Naxal-free Bharat, which has also been praised by Union Home Minister of India, Amit Shah. Now, 31 Naxalites were killed in this biggest ever 21-day operation there in Manipur. And interestingly, not a single casualty has been reported so far, which means a huge success in its operation by the forces so far. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today chaired a meeting to review the progress and future plans of fisheries sector with a focus on deep sea fishing and seafood exports as well. In a firm rebuttal to the Supreme Court's April 8th verdict that imposed deadlines on the governor and the president for deciding on state bills in the Tamil Nadu government versus governor case, President Draupadi Murmu has questioned the validity of such a ruling, emphasizing that the constitution does not prescribe any such time frames. The President's response highlights that Article 200 of the Constitution of India delineates the powers of the governor and the procedures for granting or withholding assent to bills, as well as reserving a bill for the President's consideration. Furthermore, the Constitution of India recognizes numerous instances where the President's assent is required before legislation that can take effect in a state. Now, the discretionary powers of the governor and the president, as provided under Article 200 and 201, are shaped by multiple considerations, including federalism, legal uniformity, national integrity and security, and the doctrine of separation of powers. And given these unresolved legal concerns and prevailing circumstances, President Draupadi Murmu has invoked Article 143(1) of the Constitution, referring critical questions to the Supreme Court for its opinion. By raising these questions, the President seeks clarity on the constitutional boundaries of executive and judicial authority. Now, Honduras Foreign Affairs Minister Enrique Villena is on a 4-day visit to India, during which he will inaugurate the Embassy of Honduras. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randir Jaiswal on Thursday extended a warm welcome to the visiting Honduras Foreign Minister on his arrival. Sharing a post on social media platform X, he said, and I quote, "Warm welcome to Foreign Minister Enrique Villena of Honduras as he arrives in New Delhi for the inauguration ceremony of the Embassy of the Republic of Honduras. A significant milestone in the warm and friendly bilateral ties between India and Honduras," unquote. While India and Honduras enjoy cordial and friendly relations, Honduras has consistently supported India at the multilateral stage over the years. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Donald Trump announces Boeing deal. And Trump urges Iran to strike nuclear deal, hopes Qatar can mediate amid new US sanctions.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now let's get you all the latest from Russia and Ukraine ongoing talks. Now Thursday's first direct negotiations between Russia and Ukraine began in Istanbul at around 12:30 IST with Vladimir Putin not in attendance. Putin and Zelensky have not met in person since December 2019. Russia and Ukraine last held direct negotiations in March 2022 in Istanbul, shortly after Moscow launched its full-scale offensive of its neighbor. However, in the news just coming in, US President Donald Trump said on Thursday that he would go to Russia-Ukraine talks in Turkiye on Friday if it is appropriate. He said, and I quote, "I was thinking about going, but it is very tough. If something happened, I would go on Friday if it was appropriate," unquote. For the talks, Russia's delegation includes seasoned officials including advisor Vladimir Mitinsky and Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin. The US delegation to Turkiye included Secretary of State Marco Rubio and senior envoys Steve Witkoff and Keith Kellogg. While for Ukraine, Zelensky has said that he would take part in the negotiations only if Putin was there. Trump is pushing for a 30-day ceasefire, which is an idea Zelensky supports immediately, while Putin prefers preliminary talks. Trump, frustrated by delays, has warned of possible secondary sanctions against Moscow. NATO foreign ministers gathered in Antalya, Turkiye for a two-day informal meeting to discuss ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ahead of the meeting, NATO chief Mark Rutte noted that the ball is in Russia's court to take the next step in the potential peace talks with Ukraine.
Ukraine is ready to commit to a ceasefire and immediate negotiations. That's absolutely clear. The ball is now clearly in Russia's court. They have to explain what they are doing, why they are here or not, and with what team or whatever. But let's make sure that we all understand that the ball is in their court. Ukraine is wanting to start the negotiations as soon as possible. Ukraine is ready to commit to a ceasefire and immediate negotiations. That's absolutely clear. The ball is now clearly in Russia's court. They have to explain what they are doing, why they are here or not, and with what team or whatever. But let's make sure that we all understand that the ball is in their court. Ukraine is wanting to start the negotiations as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized that there is no military solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, stressing that a diplomatic agreement is necessary to bring an end to the war.
There is no military solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This war is going to end not through a military solution, but through a diplomatic one. And the sooner an agreement can be reached on ending this war, the less people will die and the less destruction there will be.
US President Donald Trump has indicated that he would go to talks in Turkiye on Friday if it was appropriate. US President Donald Trump has urged Syria's president to join the Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with Israel, as the two leaders met in Riyadh in a first encounter between the leaders of the countries in 25 years. Trump also asked Ahmad al-Shara to deport Palestinian terrorists and tell foreign fighters to leave the country, as well as to take control of the camps for captured ISIS fighters. The meeting in Saudi Arabia came after Donald Trump's announcement that he would lift sanctions on Syria and move to restore ties with its new leader. Trump became the first US president in 25 years to meet a Syrian leader. Meanwhile, Syrian President called the lifting of sanctions on Syria, announced by Donald Trump, a historic and courageous decision. He also called on investors from around the world to benefit from what he described as opportunities in various sectors in Syria.
The decision to lift the sanctions was a historic, courageous decision that alleviated the suffering of the people, helped in their renaissance, and laid the foundations for stability in the region. We welcome all investors from the homeland, both at home and abroad, and from our Arab and Turkish brothers and friends around the world, and we call on them to take advantage of the available opportunities in various sectors.
Now, US President Donald Trump announced an aerospace agreement between Qatar Airways and Boeing, claiming the $200 billion deal that includes the purchase of 160 aircraft. The announcement came during Donald Trump's visit to Doha on the second leg of his 4-day tour of the Middle East. Qatar Airways CEO Badr Mohammed Al Mir and Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg signed the agreement in the presence of US President and Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Trump and Prince Mohammed, the kingdom's de facto ruler, signed a host of economic and bilateral agreements. Trump also touched on shared concerns about the conflict in Gaza and Iran's nuclear program. US President Donald Trump renewed his appeal to Iran to reach a nuclear deal with the US and its allies, saying he wants to see Iran thrive and that he is counting on Qatar to help pave the way. His comments came as the United States issued sanctions on Wednesday to target Iranian efforts to domestically manufacture components for ballistic missiles.
Very closely with respect to negotiating a deal with Iran, which is the far friendlier course that you would see. I mean, we have two courses. There's only two courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly, and the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that. I'll say it up front, I don't want that, but they have to get moving. I hope the Iranian leaders understand that what you're doing and really what you're doing for them is a big favor.
Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Iran would not bow to any bully in response to Trump's earlier criticism of Tehran during his Gulf tour.
We will not bow down to any bully. This is not just my word, but all women and youth, elites, and those who are zealous will not bow down to any power. Trump thought he could come here and shout slogans that would then be afraid and fall short in the face of his promises. We will not trade the honor and pride of this country with anyone.
The The 34th Arab League Summit will be held in Baghdad on the 17th of May, bringing together leaders and representatives from the 22 member states to discuss pressing regional issues, including the ongoing conflicts in Gaza and Sudan, the humanitarian situation in Yemen, and economic cooperations among Arab nations. This marks the first time in over a decade that Iraq will host the summit, signaling Baghdad's efforts to reassert its diplomatic role in the Arab world and promote regional stability. Security has been heightened across the capital, with the authorities deploying additional forces to ensure the safety of delegates and smooth proceedings during the high-profile event. In Germany, Chancellor Friedrich Merz has just begun his term, and one of his first speeches was on the economy. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Well, Lars, what is it that you are making of this speech right now?
Thanks for having me. It was a good speech covering a lot of ground. Now, when it comes to the sad state of the German economy, I did find it refreshing that Merz appeared very honest, not sugarcoating where we stand after a 3-year recession, or that now latter part may be a stagnation. Well, and Merz says what probably not many people want to hear, but what they have to hear, that we can't get out of the doldrums if we don't work harder. Let me quote the Chancellor here for a moment. Merz says, with a 4-day work week and an improved work-life balance, we're not becoming more competitive on the international stage. And that is certainly true, and it goes to the core of a debate we've had in Germany for years. Young people applying for jobs these days tend to ask how much time they have off, rather than inquiring about the work itself. I've personally heard that from HR people in companies that seek to hire. They tell me of a lack of working spirit. And while obviously families need time off too, and every worker deserves time off, it cannot be the #1 feature of a job. Merz says it like he sees it. We have to make some sacrifices, work hard, and then we get the German economy back on track.
Also, Lars, was Chancellor Merz also talking about details of his plans to revive the economy?
Yes, he did indeed. He was quite detailed. He talked about the current challenges affecting our key industries, including the auto industry, chemicals and machine building. He talked about strengthening future markets, including AI and biotech, including a stronger focus on R&D. He talked about improved opportunities for startups. Merz talked about less regulation and bureaucracy. And he talked about some of the programs that we've heard of before, including massive investments in infrastructure and digitalization. He mentioned financial support for companies, investment boosters, and future tax breaks. Of course, this was still a political speech, and Merz talked a big game. It sounds like he has a good plan and a competent team. But of course, we'll have to wait and see what the new administration actually delivers then. Because it's obvious that a lot needs to be reformed to improve things. And that starts with wages, specifically a higher minimum wage to boost spending. It goes on to accepting qualifications migrants have, but that have so far not been recognized in Germany, meaning that some highly trained people who learned their trade in their home countries can't work in these positions here. So after Merz's speech and a long-running Q&A with some of his department heads, it's clear that the new government has a lot of work to do.
Chancellor Merz was not the only one answering questions in the parliament. What did you hear from other members of the parliament, Lars?
Lots of ideas indeed, and it's evident that a new crew has taken over. Lars Klingbeil, he's the new finance minister and vice chancellor, has announced cutbacks to the so-called Bürgergeld, that is a sort of social security payment that has long been criticized for being too high and in fact a disincentive for many people to work. Then the head of the Chancellery talked about strategies to lower the high energy prices, one of the main factors that have contributed to Germany's economic crisis. Now, we're hearing the government wants to lower the energy tax to the lowest level allowed by the EU, and also cut back on grid fees. We're also hearing that the new government plans to put out a budget before Parliament heads into its summer break. That a budget will give a lot more details on cuts and on spending, and the sooner it comes, the better.
All right, thank you so much, Lars Holter, for joining us from Berlin and bringing us a rounded perspective. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Indian consulate and Brazilian mayors' businesses meeting to be held in Sao Paulo. 7th edition of Khelo India Youth Games 2025 to conclude today in Patna. And amidst films and fashion of the 77th Cannes Film Festival this year, the Indian Pavilion has been re-inaugurated and renamed as Bharat Pavilion. Welcome back after that short break. Now let's get you all the latest from the world of business. Now, important cities from Sao Paulo, the richest Brazilian state with a GDP of $700 billion US, want to increase their trade relations with India. At an interaction with Indian diplomats this week, Brazilian mayors invited Indian companies to be their partners.
Very good attendance, more than 100 mayors from the state of Sao Paulo participated in it. And it was the meeting was primarily to present India, the business opportunities to them, to asking them to invest in India and to receive Indian companies. The mayors of the cities also presented their cities, the facilities and the incentives which the cities are offering, and they were very excited for exploring to have more Indian investments and companies and hosting them. It was across the sectors, but yeah, their more interest was, having the companies from the pharma sector, from logistics, and they were interested in investing in infrastructure of India. Likewise, there was interest in the railway sector from Indian companies. And of course, many mayors expressed interest for exporting the agriculture produce to India.
In São Paulo, we have a very rich farms with a very good technology that we can implement in India. And the opposite way, we have machinery, we have chemicals that the cities in São Paulo can import directly from India and no longer from China or from other regions.
It's a very wonderful step from the state government of São Paulo. The governor, the deputy himself, along with various municipalities out of the 600 plus municipalities were present here with their respective mayors, etc. All the respective municipalities presented themselves, shared with us the opportunity of getting tax exemptions, incentives, land, and a variety of support to come and invest in their respective regions. There were companies here from the textile world, banks, and other industries as well.
Now, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, warned that regional exports will experience minimal growth this year, primarily due to US tariffs, as trade ministers of the 21 member economies gathered for a two-day annual meeting. In a regional trends report released at the 2025 Trade Ministers Summit on South Korea's Jeju Island, APEC forecast export growth of just 0.4% this year, a sharp drop from last year's 5.7%. The bloc also revised down its economic growth outlook for the region, lowering it from 3.3% to 2.6% for the year. The downturn comes as the Trump administration's broad tariff measures continue to impact over half of APEC members, weighing heavily on trade dynamics across the region. Key agenda of the meeting include multilateral trade and cooperation agendas and World Trade Organization reforms amid current challenges.
We have heard announcements of higher tariffs, retaliatory measures, suspension or elimination of benefits or procedures facilitating trade. We have heard about an increase of non-tariff measures affecting trade. And all of this, unfortunately, is not helping business, because what they are doing is to add unprecedented levels of policy uncertainty. This is also eroding investors' confidence, weakening demand, and they could eventually affect jobs, and we are worried about that.
You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports. To begin with the ongoing edition of Khelo India, the 7th edition of Khelo India Youth Games in Bihar will conclude today with a grand closing ceremony in Patna. Maharashtra continues its dominance, topping the medal tally with 149 medals. Now this includes 56 gold and 45 silver medals. Haryana is in second spot with 107 medals, including 35 gold and 13 silver. Rajasthan stands third with 55 medals. The state won 22 gold medals and 11 silver medals in total. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu follow in the 4th and the 5th position. This edition of Khelo India Youth Games feature 28 sporting disciplines. These include Olympic, non-Olympic and indigenous sports as well. Malakhambh, Yogasan and Kho-Kho were among the traditional Indian games. In soccer, Jacob Ramson's 95th minute winner for Real Madrid against Mallorca forced Barcelona to wait another day, at least for La Liga title glory. Real Madrid won by 2-1. Hansi Flick's side were seconds away from being confirmed as champions without playing, only for Madrid to score with practically the last kick of the game at the Bernabeu. Barcelona will only need a point at rivals Espanyol on Thursday to wrap up the title. Martin Valian drilled a fine low effort to give visitors Mallorca the lead in the Spanish capital. Host Real Madrid were dominant but missed a host of chances before Kylian Mbappe found the bottom corner with a well-hit strike. They continued to miss chances before Ramon's close-range volley after some poor defending delivered the victory. Despite this comeback, the title is still highly likely to go to Barcelona, who are 4 points ahead at the top with the game in hand. Moving on, India is emerging as a cinematic powerhouse with stories that transcend boundaries and languages. Bharat Pavilion has been inaugurated at the 78th edition of the prestigious Cannes Film Festival in France. DD India correspondent Jaya Sinha gets us this exclusive report from Ground Zero. Take a look.
Bharat Pavilion was inaugurated at the 78th edition of the prestigious Cannes Film Festival, where industry leaders gathered to celebrate the global footprint of Indian cinema, its vibrant storytellers, and the deepening ties between India and the world of global filmmaking.
Everybody that came from waves was understanding the content. India has the largest number of content creators, the largest number of content consumers, the largest number of technologists live in India. So this has been our Prime Minister's vision for a long time, not just that we spoke about it and he said, I'm going to bring this together, Shekhar. The world is not driven by business. The world is driven by storytelling. The world is driven by culture. All of those producers who are sitting here and say, I got money, and they're saying, yeah, do you have a story? Because I have a story. You bring all the money. Money is cheap. Stories are valuable.
Indian cinema, which is its rich storytelling and global influence, continues to inspire audiences and creators across continents, including here in France.
The celebrations of International Film Festival of India kick-started with the launch of poster and trailer of the 56th edition of IFFI.
Each year, the finest voices of...
After 40 years in cinema and 545 films, I'm so happy to be here in the Mahakumbh of cinema.
The future of Indian cinema is extremely bright, which is evident with the frequency of international recognition for the films, our filmmakers, and their work becoming a talking point across coveted festivals.
Bharat Pavilion reflects the Indian government's push to promote India as a global hub for content and filmmaking.
Bharat Pavilion is a vibrant platform for filmmakers, distributors, producers and storytellers. From co-production deals to talent connections to policy support, the pavilion offers a glimpse into India's dynamic media and entertainment world. With camera person Sumit, this is Jaya Sinha reporting for DD India from Cannes.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.